Now, unless I'm crazy, QDEL is not going to be replacing OLED anytime soon. And in this video, I will state exactly why that is. It might sound preposterous to the people marketing it, promoting it, or just flat out excited for it, but the truth is, if we really look at it, it's not going to replace even Quantum.OLED anytime in the near future. So smack a like on this video, and let's dive right on into brass tacks, okay? So looking at the specifications for QDEL, okay? I'm going to put up on the screen, I'm going to read it here, okay? QDEL basically is sporting BT 2020 of 85%, 400 nits, and, you know, up to 120 hertz right now, okay? That is not impressive because on our QD-OLEDs right now, we have 144 hertz, we have 90% of the BT 2020 color coverage, and in some cases over 90. So it's like, you're not really enticing me when you tell me you're giving me less. And a lot of people are excited because like, but it has the black levels of OLED and the quantum dot color, which is fantastic. It's a true RGB display with great color, fantastic. They still have to solve their brightness. They still have to solve their manufacturing process to be able to get an adoption from multiple big name manufacturers like Hisense, TCL, Sony, Samsung, the list goes on. And to do that is going to take years. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And even once they do that, you run into the biggest problem, and I personally think hurdle to this whole QDEL conversation. Quantum.OLED exists cheaper today. You can pick it up for $1,100 on sale for something like the S90D, known to have over 90% of the BT 2020 color space in a lot of cases. Some people, again, given gear and equipment, can get different numbers, but it's the 90% versus the 85 that you're getting on, again, the current QDEL prototypes or whatever they are. Now, I grant you, these are laptops, things could happen differently with TVs. And I grant you, I personally am excited for the technology. I think it's a beautiful step in the right direction. However, I don't see the cost getting cheaper because once you put a Sony badge on that, it's going to have the Sony tax. So it really doesn't matter that it's cheaper to make if Sony is still going to be Sony. Because look at what they charge for mini LED technology that Hisense produces for pennies on the dollar. TCL, pennies on the dollar. The point being that, like, oh, this is going to reduce manufacturing costs. Yeah, the cost to them, but they're still going to pass the cost off to you. And no one has talked about this yet. Everybody seems to turn a blind eye to the fact that these companies are constantly looking to save themselves money, cut themselves costs, and then still charge you up the fucking wazoo. And it's something that I get tired of watching year in and year out because I know what's going to happen. And everybody's like, oh yeah, you're right, the cost, manufacturing costs are going to be lower, it'll be more affordable. No, it won't. No, it won't be more affordable. You aren't getting $500 QDELs. You're not getting $700 QDELs. You're getting the cutting edge marketing that they're going to say, oh, we put AI in there, we put the best quantum dots from inkjet printing, and we did all this stuff, and we had the best algorithms with AI, and because of that, you are going to now pay upwards of over $2,000. I guarantee you. Watch, it's going to happen. Again, I don't mean to be a stick in the mud with a lot of these things, but in some cases, you kind of have to be honest with what you're looking at. Like, let's take, again, we'll talk about LG since they're another example of like old tech kind of becoming more of like a prevalent thing that they're still charging a lot for. Okay, tandem OLED is kind of a joke. So like if you watch, I'll put it on screen. Look at it here. You're talking about their tandem LG with their latest video that from LG Display, and they're talking about you meeting the latest OLED technology of the 4th generation versus the 3rd. So you've already seen a side-by-side comparison. They're showing you. In the photo, they're talking about color brightness, but the color itself does not look improved. The red does not look improved over the 3rd generation. Dare I'd argue, the colors look a little bit richer on the 3rd generation, which if we know about WOLED technology, the brighter it gets, the more diluted the colors get. So changing the panel structure isn't going to do anything. And also, for those wondering, I feel like it just kind of enhanced the blues a lot, which will make a lot of people go wow and razzle-dazzle them, but if you look at this picture of the ocean, you can clearly see that versus the 3rd generation and LG's own video with their own side-by-side of the TVs, the blue to the right looks a lot closer to the Samsung. Now, if I remember correctly, LG fans have been widely vocal about not liking the way Samsung does color. LG has now this year gone to that way of doing color. Are we now going to issue an apology for every Samsung person, every fan, every owner? Because that's the direction. A more vibrant blue than what they had before, to the point where it looks literally like a Samsung TV. So it's to the point now where either like we've got to be consistent with what we're asking for, or we have to accept that just some things are going to be what they are. And I'm talking about not just tandem OLED, but the QDEL technology. It's beautiful tech, but everybody gets too excited too quickly. They're like, oh my gosh, this is happening, this is great, this is amazing. Yes, self-emissive LEDs that don't have the potential risk of burn-in, fantastic, sign me up. Where do I start? Oh wait, hold on, you still got to develop a TV in there. And so even though you can figure out a lot of how the display works and all that, it's prototype for a reason, because you don't have a viable solution for how you're going to get Sony, for example, to adopt this at an affordable consumer price. You're not going to explain how LG is going to be able to do this at an affordable price. I mean, it's to the point where I really don't know what the direction for a lot of these manufacturers are. And even when they come out at, CES, Nanosys has a job to try to convince companies to hop on board with something. But you now have to understand how business works, okay? If something already works, they're not going to phase it out until they get their return on investment. For example, if I've already bought a slew of quantum.OLED panels, I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm not going to throw them in the trash. I have them already in my manufacturing plant. I'm going to use them, right? It's that kind of concept. And I feel like with QDEL, you still have to get adoption out. You still have to mass produce it to the world globally. There's a lot that has to happen before we start talking about this is a viable option. It's going to kill off OLED. OLED's done for. Throw it away. Next. No. It's got a long way to go. And we've already got OLEDs hitting 4,000 nits of brightness this year from both WOLED and QD-OLED. So the QDEL conversation has to start at no less than 4,000 nits, which that's probably going to be pretty hard to do, especially when they haven't even figured out how to break past, what was that number? I think it was like 500 here? No, correction, 400. So they've got a ways to go. Let them develop and show you something, and when they show us something viable, that's at that point where I'll say, yeah, okay, OLED is done. But right now, they are nowhere close to being done. They're going to continue to be the most dominant display. It's still going to be the most affordable display. The best 42-inch screen sizes that you can get will always be for an OLED, a QD-OLED of some sort, a monitor or whatever else. It's not going to be QDEL right now. It's not going to be anything else. So, again, curb those expectations, be ready to wait for QDEL, and that's just as real as it gets. I don't know why people have a problem saying this, no knock on any creator excited about it or thinking OLED is going to die, but as somebody who's been doing this for over a decade now, I can tell you it's not going to happen. So that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.